We be tripping. It's all about what's happening in terms of Disney parks from coast to coast and how you can better plan your park activities, planning your trip. Today we are talking the hottest topic that might be available right now, and that is Disney theme park ticket price increases happening yet again from coast to coast for annual pass holders as well as one-day, multi-day tickets. There's a lot to know here, and it sounds like very, very unusually too, Disneyland has now thrown out the value, moderate. They had a three-tier system, basically, where it was value, moderate, peak, or something like that. So people are just getting educated with this. People were just starting to understand that there were certain days where if it was less busy, you were going to get your value ticket. So you were going to pay less. Then, a little bit more busy, you were going to pay a little bit more. Then, if it's crazy busy, you're going to pay the peak price. Well, that just got thrown out the window this week. And now there's a 5-tier price point on these tickets now, so it got even more confusing. And I don't necessarily know why there needs to be a 5-tier. I don't even know how you categorize these things now as to what day is worth a category 3 versus a 4. And Disneyland's tickets website now is suffering all kinds of downtime because people are trying to understand what the heck's going on and what they should buy and when. When Disney raises prices, which seems to be yearly, sometimes twice a year now, is that something that turns you off about visiting, or something that you're just like, I'm going to throw down the money anyway?
I mean, it kind of turns me off if I was like, we have the annual passes. So again, like even that, you're kind of like, oh God, like you just see the ticket to go higher and higher, you're kind of like, oh, is it worth it? Yeah. But for us, like we always go. But I can understand like families now, the peak prices are going to be really high, of course, during the summer, during holidays, and that's when people are able to take time off. So that's like, a pain. So now you have to try to figure out and like look through the website and try to find like the lowest days, and that's probably like, when there's probably gonna be like refurbishments on like rides, and they're not going to be as busy, so the tickets of prices are going to be lower, and they just up the price for Max Pass.
Yeah, on top of it,
$20 a person, and I can't.
That's really sad.
That is so high. Like I remember when it was $10, and I was like, totally.
I
worth
always
it,
recommended it at that point. But
then it went up to $15. I was like, ooh, it's kind of worth it. Now it's $20 a person. Like, I mean, for a family of 4, that's like $80.
And this was introduced 2 years ago? At this point?
Yeah, about 2 years. And so now it's jacked up to 20, and I'm just like, I mean, is it worth it? Yes, because you don't have to like lug your kids around to try to, or grab everybody's tickets to try to go get it at like Big Thunder, and then you have to go run and do it at another location. You can just do everything by your phone. Perfect. But
you get your PhotoPass photos as well.
But for $20,
yeah,
woo, it's expensive.
Yeah, it's clear that they just want annual pass holders. Like that's what the pricing tells me. Because now if you want like a one-day park hopper, it's like around $200, and that's just one day. Might as well get the annual pass and be able to come back a little bit more. So that's what they're gunning for. They really want the people to come back more than once. And
or just to buy the annual pass and pay that premium, and then for them to like go for 4 days and then maybe come back.
Sure.
Well, you're right, but they do want you to come back because they realize they make so much money from their like festivals and all the different merchandise that comes out all the time. So, they're starting to realize that they can like change things up and bring in more locals, bring in just more people in general because they have these special events.
Free buttons.
I know, yeah, that too. That's another sign they want more annual pass holders. They're giving out just free stuff to people, which all say AP all over them, but still, it's free stuff. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know.
Keep your masses happy.
It's just so expensive now. And it's just like, and again, people are going to pay these prices no matter what. No matter how much Disney hikes it up. We'll complain. We'll talk about it. But again, people are going to do it no matter what price point it is. They might fluctuate their time maybe going, but, they're going to go because obviously they want to see all the new stuff.
And granted, after the most recent Q1 earnings call from Bob Iger and corporate, they referenced the fact that attendance was up only 2%. So when I think about that, and I think about how Galaxy's Edge opening on both coasts, you have these huge land expansions on both coasts, new lands coming online that are supposed to drive attendance through the roof, and that never happened last year. Okay. Attendance may have spiked a little bit during initial interest, but it did not reach the levels that were anticipated. There were all these sort of strategic things in mind going into opening these lands as to how the crowds were just going to be unbearable, and then they didn't show up. Yeah. So knowing this now,
Can we get wah?
Yeah, no kidding. I'm a little surprised from a strategic standpoint that they pulled this trigger this early in the year. But I also understand from a business perspective that it was done because perhaps attendance was flat and might continue to be flat until more things come online again. And so this was done in a way to, much like they talked about in the quarter 1 earnings call, oh, well, guest spending is up because we're charging everybody more. So guest spending will be up in quarter 2 because the ticket prices are going to be more expensive.
Yeah, it just makes me so mad. Like, and again, like they do it earlier and earlier every year. Because I remember they would jack up the prices around like April, because that was like when my annual pass would expire. So I would always like run to the ticket booth. And then again, they used to give that perk, you know, when you get your annual pass, they would like reduce it depending on like $100, $50, depending on the level annual pass you have. And now they don't even do that anymore. And so I would always like run to the ticket booth and like do it before, like about a week before my annual pass expired, because I always knew they'd always like raise it up around that time. And now it's like February. Yeah. Boom. You know, maybe they might raise it probably in the summer. Who knows? Like, because Marvel's coming. Right. So they're going to have to try to do something to like kind of like flux their quarterly revenue and all that stuff. So
do a little massaging of the numbers.
Come on, Disney. JPEG.
Yeah, I mean, our annual pass now, I mean, we go to Florida 4 times a year, so I guess it still makes sense for us. But the annual pass costs $2,200 now.
I remember when it was
that's
like
insane.
Below, like triple digit, not quad digit.
Pretty
know
nuts.
what I mean? Like, I remember when we first bought it, I was like, yeah, this is super cheap, like $7.99.
It made a lot of sense in the beginning, yeah.
And then it went to $9.99, and I was like, well, I don't know. And then it
really
went above, and I was like, woo, it's expensive.
Yeah, and you mentioned that, as you had said before, too, with Max Pass also rising along with this over at Disneyland. You think about the one-day, one-park jump, where now a peak ticket for one-day, one-park for Disneyland went from $149 to $154. With the new tiers involved, by the way, the 1 through 5. So now your bottom base ticket is going to be $104. So that is the cheapest it can get. Then $114 for tier 2, tier 3 $124, tier 4 $139. Yeah. One-day park hopper tickets. Okay, so you do a park hopper, you buy your park hopper, you jump from California Adventure to Disneyland. On a peak day, it's $209 for one ticket.
It's like hard to swallow for like a one day. And then, because again, like we always tell our friends, like, yo, no, you have to do a park hopper because, you know, if you like to do like, especially to utilize Max Pass, you kind of need 2 parks, because you can go to one park, get rides done, go on your phone, grab a pass for the next park, and then hop over there, because it's not that far. Right. But now it's like you're telling your friends to spend like $209 plus $20 for the Max Pass, and you're kind of like, we're going to make this day super fun. Just pay the ticket price. I'm really, really sorry.
Promise them the world.
And like playing, and then I'm going to talk about the hotels too, because they're so expensive for how much like Grand Californian is and Disneyland. And then Paradise Pier, it's like, you know, iffy on the borderline of like, is that worth like $300 a room for a night? But even that, so you're going to have to pay, they want you to stay at the resort, but then they're jacking up the ticket prices, and they're probably going to start raising hotel prices. I don't know. And even that, like for a family of 4, like, it's so expensive. And now you're just going to like just steal all their money, and then they're not going to have time, like enough money to spend on like buying food or getting presents for the kids or whatever. 'Cause they're like just getting this like, you know, room at Disneyland Hotel that's like a desperate need for a refurbishment. And then you're kind of like, I could have stayed like across the street for around like half that price, and it'd be like around the same average hotel room, because those need to be refurbished too. So I don't know. It's just like, I feel really bad for everybody that like might as well just do an annual pass at this point.
Even at value rates, this is becoming harder and harder for, I think, a lot of families to justify trips. And certainly, you know, Disneyland is not a charity, and Disneyland is certainly a place where it is a business, and they do need to please shareholders, and they do need to make a profit, and they're doing pretty well. And so they need to continue to raise the stakes in order to make that profit and show that they've made progress. We did take a poll and asked you, is this, in terms of park ticket price increases, is this going to stop you from visiting? And the poll we asked specifically that. It said 56% of you were like, nope, we will still visit, take our money, it's okay. And 44% says, yes, it's too expensive at this point. I know that when we jumped on over to comments and started taking a look at what people were saying in this regard, there were a lot of things that people mentioned. Jazz said, as a stockholder, I love it every time I see this headline. I also have only paid for a park ticket once in 32 years, and that was for my grad night. My advice to people complaining about prices: get a part-time job at the Mouse House if you really need to go that often. Timothy says, I'll still visit, but not as often as I would like. Sandra says, this has already stopped me, and it breaks my heart. And Sandy mentions that she gave up renewal of their annual passes when they expired in October, and it's getting harder and harder to justify the increases in all the prices. I do find that there were a lot of similar comments that sort of related to those. So either folks that took that hardline approach of, it's not a right to go to Disneyland. It's not a right to go on a Disney vacation. So save if you really want to go. And then I also saw the folks that were saying, I can't go nearly as much as I used to. I certainly can't afford even annual trips now, and so now I have to push that out to maybe once every 2 years or something like that. We all have to live within our means, certainly, but I think what this comes down to is, you're slowly pushing away those people that love you the most, and that's hard.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to swallow.
I'm just nervous for how expensive it is. And then again, like Disney World, it's like a whole different ballgame than people that go to Disneyland. A lot of them are locals, and then the ones at Disney World, say I'm not saying like people at Disneyland don't save, but Disney World, a lot of people go, this is like their once in a lifetime trip. They go to Disney World. They want it to be magical and perfect in every single way for how much money they spend on it. And I'm worried that now it's like going to get higher and higher price, and then people are going to feel more entitled because they spent more money.
I see that happening.
And then so
Absolutely.
parents raising their kids above their head and then ruining it for other children. And then parents getting upset when you're like, take your kids off your shoulders so my kids can see, or, something. And then it just starts getting in this like whole, I don't know, bad mojo thing, like fights breaking out and stuff. But I know that's like, I don't know, my pessimistic side or whatever. But it's just
I've seen it happen.
I've like, again, I don't know how many times I've seen like certain shows for Halloween and stuff, and then like, people last minute running forward while these other people have been waiting there like for an hour to watch this show, and then this dad rushing up with their kids or whoever, and then putting the kid on their shoulders, and you're like literally front stage. Why did you have your kids on your shoulder? And then this guy politely saying, can you take your kid down because my kid can't see? And the guy's like, well, that's your fault. And then the guy's like,
wow.
You rushed in last minute.
Yeah.
And you just put your kid, and so I'm like slowly like backing away, like, and then again, I can't see either because I'm a short person, and so I'm kind of like maneuvering like this, trying
Tyler,
to see.
put me on your shoulder, she says.
I know, and then it's just like,
I'd be
and
like,
then like
no.
a little fight breaks out for like 5 minutes, and then this like the kids, what do they remember? The show or the dad's getting
Right.
upset? So I'm just like worried that with all these ticket prices, people are gonna feel more entitled. Like, I want this to be perfect. I'm gonna do whatever I want because I paid this ticket price, and I'm gonna whatever, go stand in front with my kids on their shoulder, or, making sure that I have the best view and no one else does, or something like that. So that's what I'm worried about. Let's all just be friends, people.
Peace and camaraderie. Tyler, what do you think?
Yeah, it's a huge bummer. I mean, it's just so expensive to do anything like that, like this at this point. I mean, staying off property, I think, is a really good thing to do if you're staying at Disneyland, because it's really close by to everything is really compact at Disneyland, and you can get a much better room for the same prices. You could go stay in a suite somewhere for the price of a standard at Grand Californian. So it's one of those things where you just have to kind of either save up the money or decide you're going to cut the costs on some things. It is a huge bummer. Sometimes Airbnb can be a good choice too, especially
It's a really good option. Yeah.
like around Disneyland. There's a lot of people that just rent out their houses. So I know Anaheim doesn't really like it, but Anaheim can take a hike. So, because
You can
like
take-
the thing I don't understand. I'm gonna go on a tangent real quick. The thing I don't understand about Anaheim is why Disney is bringing them in all this money. Airbnb brings in all this money. Anyway, that's all my tangent is.
And then they get mad.
And then they get mad and they're like, "Come on, Disney, we're gonna give you a hard time." Anyway,
Don't get so mad.
yeah.
I know.
Well, back to the tiered system here for just a moment. And, if we could visit Disneyland's website to try and understand it a little bit better, that would be nice. But Disney IT being what it is, the website's down most of the time, if it works at all. And then when we do get in there, it crashes. So it's frustrating to say the least. But Kurt, I want to jump over to you. You'd mentioned something a little bit earlier. We were talking about this before we started in the tier structure and sort of how this works for people.
Well, my concern is what happens on a day where, say, you buy a tier 1 and you can't go on that day and you have to go the following day and it's tier 3 or 5. And you now have this family going there that, you go to the front gate and realize, now you got to pay an additional 40, 50 some dollars. Or what happens if the reverse happens where you buy the tier 5 and you can't go and you go on the tier 1 instead? Now you're out $40. Do they tell you, hey, here's another $40 for, you paid extra on that day? I mean, I highly doubt that's going to happen.
Here's your kickback.
Yeah,
that's a great point. And
Yeah.
and I wonder how that works in the ticketing. I mean, I'm sure that's been thought about at least, and perhaps I think on the one side, if you've paid for a tier 1, you show up on a tier 5 day, I can absolutely see Disney saying, okay, well, you've already bought it, or that's grandfathered in as a ticket, so come on in. I can see that being an easy excuse, but to the other side, you come in on reverse.
That's when you go to guest relations and wait in that long line
Yeah.
and wait for your $40 and then think, is it worth it standing in this line for $40? And then you either have people that do or just people that just take it and walk away. You just
Well, I'm sure that's what they're hoping too,
Yeah.
is that you just take it and walk away. I'm like, all right, we got to get going. We're burning time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Can you just buy a 5 tier? I thought you had to choose a day and then it tells you what the price is.
That's what I thought.
Oh, yeah. So
Yeah.
then you just choose you have to go on a Friday and then you're like, I can't go on a Friday. You want to try to go on another day? Yeah.
You're
okay.
kind of locked
Because
into
they're,
it.
I see what
Yeah.
they're good for 30 days, I think, after you buy them, something like that. Or
And
just-
and here's the
Okay.
thing. I mean, perhaps, or maybe things changed.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sure.
If they,
This
I don't
whole
know
new
if they
tier
are
system.
good anymore. I'm not sure.
It's
Are
very
they going to make
confusing.
you wait in that long ticket line
Yeah,
to make you change
I went
it?
researching this topic. I went looking through
No.
what I could. There's nothing to really explain it. And this is the other thing that really frustrates me when it comes to these big sweeping changes. This happens a lot where there isn't enough out there to educate yourself. So if you want to plan a trip, and it's just me, I think about those poor families that are trying to plan in advance. They're trying to understand how much this is going to cost them.
Sure.
And they can't plan because they don't have the information that they need. And, most of the time, there's more than enough information out there. And, we try to make sense of things for people to help them in their planning and certainly to try and get them on track so that they can understand things a little bit better. But when there isn't enough information to begin with, it makes it very difficult to get a firm grasp on what's going on. But let's move into some of the other tips that we have for you in terms of how you can enjoy perhaps a day outside of the park. So say you're going on a Disney vacation and you've purchased tickets. Well, now you might want to spend one less day inside of a park because of how much more expensive it has become. So with that in mind, what are some of the things that you guys might recommend in terms of perhaps an off day from the park? So now my trip might be 7 days. I might only be going into the park 4 days when I used to go in 5 or 6. What would you do?
Sure. I know for Disneyland, Tyler and I were talking about it, and then we really like going to the packing district over there. It's only a couple miles away, and there's tons of food options because Disneyland can get expensive.
Yeah.
Even downtown Disney, it's super expensive. So sometimes you might would rather just take a couple hours and go to packing district, and it's like a small little I don't even know how to describe it.
It's like a fancy food court.
Yeah, it's like a fancy food court, and there's a whole bunch of options that there's Chinese, Japanese, Mexican food. There's Southern Comfort. There's Thai. It's just everything you can think of is there. And then there's dessert options, and then you can just walk around and just kind of see and feel what you want, and then everybody can kind of go pick and choose. And then there's nice seating areas around, and then there's even secret bars, and then there's really nice little wine tasting area, and then there's one bar that we like to go to, and it's called the Blind Rabbit, and it's a cool speakeasy. So this is not for children. but it's
No kids allowed.
No kids
Dress
allowed.
code
There's a
enforced.
major dress code enforcement, so you can't show up in like this or a Mickey shirt or something. But it's really cool. Like definitely, like I would say, like go on their website, The Blind Rabbit, and then get a reservation if you have like a group of people that are over 21. And it's like it's really small, but it's like really cool and like craft cocktails, like super craft cocktails.
Yeah. All the bartenders there like clearly know what they're doing, like in a way that, you know, the guys, I was going to say like, I don't even want to name another restaurant, but you know, a lot of restaurants don't, you know, you can tell they're just kind of trained to make theirs cocktails and they don't really know what they're doing. But anyway, these guys craft cocktail.
Yeah, and their food is amazing. They have a really nice menu, and then I don't know. It's just like it's one of those like really, and then you can like do that for you can like dress up and go have like fun and go to the bar and like go eat some food around like the packing district and. But it's, I don't know. I love that. I cannot say enough how cool the Blind Rabbit is because it's like there's 2 floors to the packing district. So it's on the bottom and then you don't know where it is really. And then you just like walk up to a podium because there's like a little rabbit on it. And then they lead you through like a wall, like a secret wall door that has like barrels and stuff in it. And then you walk in and it's like this really cool, like really dim setting speakeasy with like really like dark wood furnishing and
Feels
stuff.
super exclusive.
It's like really, really cool.
Yeah.
And then there's like a special drink that they like light on fire. So it's like the AOA times 5 kind of. It's
great
really cool, but
experience.
it's expensive. And they serve it in like a gold chalice, which is really cool.
It's amazing that
you don't
the
get
fire
to keep
department.
the chalice though.
No, you don't. Yeah. But it's amazing the fire department actually lets them get away with it. But it's not actually on the menu. You have to know the name of
Oh.
it to have them do
Just
it.
like give me that fire drink. And but yeah, and then like my other idea would be going to like even medieval times because that is how many miles away? It's like by Knott's Berry Farm, and it's like what 7 miles away. 6?
Something like that. I would say it's like a 10-minute drive.
Yeah, and like it's a quick Uber ride as well. But then there's like medieval times, so that's even cheaper for your kids, and that's like a show and dinner all at once. And then there's like a little pirate show that's similar to medieval times, right at like kitty corner. I've never been to it though, so I can't tell you if it's good or bad. But I've always
haven't
loved
been to it
medieval
either.
times. I always thought it was fun. Eat with your fingers, and then you get to see like a show and jousting and
Next door,
stuff.
the Pirates Dinner show.
Yeah, the Pirates Dinner.
I've been to that.
How was it?
I think fun if you're under a certain age of
Sure.
maybe 13,
Okay.
12.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
really? Okay. See, because
Okay.
I still
I
love
haven't-
medieval
I haven't been.
times.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like medieval times is timeless. Like it's classic.
It
So,
is.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
like super fun for families and stuff because it's like $50 a head or something like around that price, and then it's a lot cheaper than Disney for a day, and then you guys can do that for like a half. It's like a good couple hours you
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
waste over there.
It cracks me up that you get enough food for dinner. I'm not trying to say that they jip you or anything, but you get like a big hunk of chicken and then they give you 1 rib.
I mean, back in the day, there was probably a lot more chickens.
Back in the day, the ribs were probably way bigger. They were like dinosaurs.
That's true. Yeah, right. My Fred Flintstone
Yeah,
style.
exactly.
Loaded up on the side of my car.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I always thought it was fun.
Exactly.
Oh wait, yeah, right.
Yep.
And then you fall over, 'cause it's so heavy. Anyway, whatever.
That's what you got?
Those are the 2 things at Disneyland. You want me to do Disney Worlds?
Yeah, what are you thinking about Disney World?
Let's do this. No, I'm just kidding. So Disney World, I would honestly go to Universal Orlando because it's a little bit cheaper.
Yeah.
At least do like a day or something or a couple days over there, and then you can like Uber over there or stay at their hotels because they're a little bit cheaper. And then I would say like go to Universal. There's 2 parks there, Islands of Adventure, and then Universal Orlando, and then even like City Walk. Their food is, I want to say, a lot cheaper than Disney World food. There's really great restaurants. So for like Tyler and I, we love going to this really cool Italian restaurant, Vivo, and Tyler and I were talking about it in the car. So like Maria and Enzo's, is a little expensive, and it's kind of like they make food that they can quickly get done and get out as fast as possible to get people
Efficient food?
through. Yeah, like efficient food.
Yes.
And I feel like Vivo is like so interesting. Their prices aren't as bad. You get a massive portion. It always comes out piping hot, and they make their own pasta, which is really unheard of kind of for a theme park restaurant. So I always love Vivo. And then Big Fire is a brand new restaurant that opened up, and they have really good steak. And they give you you order a steak or whatever, and they give you 2 sides, which is a pretty decent massive portion, really. Like Tyler and I couldn't even finish our 2 portions, and then with like 4 sides, and then you're just like, this is a lot of food.
Always
and-
ask for the tarragon aioli.
Oh my gosh.
Whatever you're gonna eat, put it on whatever. They have s'mores too. You can get s'mores, cook them outside on the fire.
Oh,
Isn't that
fun.
fun?
Yeah.
And then they take it to your table too. They have like a little fire thing that they set up at your table too for the s'mores, and so you can do that with the kids or whatever.
It's super memorable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then they have like if you're like a sports fan, they have a huge like NBC Sports Grill. Like there's like just tons of stuff to do. And then if you're like us, and then you just like a childless millennial that's over 21, we head
Sorry,
over
Karen.
to we head over to like Sapphire Falls, and we go to Strongwater Tavern. It's like a really cool bar, and then they have really amazing Mai Tais, and then they have like little tapas and stuff too. So even that, just like you can just take like a couple hours or something out of your Disney trip, and then just take an Uber over there and just eat some food, have some really good drinks, and then call it a good night and
Yeah.
take an Uber back home.
Yeah, great
Yeah.
plan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lot to think about there, and certainly you kind of touched on it. This whole progression of price increases year after year with Disney might just be pushing people more and more towards those other parks nearby.
Universal, like Orlando's like, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no kidding.
They'll take every percentage at whatever. They'll just scoop it a little bit away from Disney at a time. That's what their plan is. They never thought that they were going to just take a foothold overnight. They knew all along that it was going to be like, okay, we'll do this over time. And especially with like Epic Universe opening in the next few years, Disney, I think they're going to have to pivot a little bit on what their plan was, because I'm guessing, I have no insight, that once Star Wars was over, once they were done building Star Wars, they were going to say, okay, now we're going to rest for a little bit, make some new plans, figure out what we're doing. And no, Universal said, no, you don't have time to rest.
Yeah.
And along with other theme parks too, it's not just Universal. A
As
lot
I
of
understand it,
parks are competing
Knott's
now.
Berry Farm
Yeah,
is
exactly.
on fire right now in terms
They're
of
doing
attendance.
great. Yeah.
People are buying those passes up like
Oh, yeah.
crazy,
They're
and
super cheap. They have a meal plan on
Right.
their annual passes.
and
They're
Knott's Berry
updating-
Farm now being run by the former vice president of Disneyland, John Storbeck,
Yeah,
and
that's true.
The former president of Disneyland, who runs the company that runs Knott's Berry Farm. So there's a lot to think about there in terms of other parks sort of grabbing the share, pulling the share away.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was just gonna say, Knott's is going back to their roots. They're updating. They got rid of their, I'm blanking on under the sea Kraken ride,
Iron Reef.
Journey to the Iron Reef. They got rid of that ride. They're pulling it out. They're going back to their old Berry Tales ride, which was originally in that space. It's going to be an interactive thing still, but just interesting that they're going so much back to their roots and going so deep on that stuff. They know that that's what they have to do to compete with Disney. So
You bet.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump out to Walt Disney World and check in with our Walt Disney World reporter, Garrett Hassel. Garrett, some tips when people are thinking about their Disney World vacation, maybe not doing every day in the park due to prices. What would you recommend?
Sorry, Indiana Jones fighting in the background right there.
Oh, is that what that was?
But if you're out here and you don't want to do the parks every day, you can easily go to Disney Springs. However, you're paying Disney prices for items like you're going to see Lacoste and like high-end stores in there. So, but Disney Springs is honestly a park in its own right, where they have shows, they have live entertainment, there are things to do such as bowling, the NBA experience. Soon, Cirque du Soleil is coming back, so Disney Springs is an option. Since a lot of people, when they come out here, they like to they stay at a Disney resort. Honestly, just have a resort day, hang by the pool, partake in the activities that they do poolside. Those games are honestly a lot of fun, where it's like, yes, the Disney character from this description or something along those lines. But if that's not your thing, there are tons of outlets out here. So if you really want to shop, there are outlets galore out here. You can easily go to Universal. Over there. Oh, you see that explosion
Saw
behind
that.
me? Yeah, we got pyrotechnics on the show now.
Yeah, we do.
Yes.
There goes our
but-
budget.
But if you really want to get away from the theme parks and want to do something authentically Florida, there are natural springs that you can go on. There are also what's it called?
Gator rides?
What are the boats called that have the giant fan behind them? What are those called?
Airboats, right? Airboats.
Airboats, yeah, they have
Sandboats? Yeah.
airboats too. So the good thing about being in Florida is that you can easily go to the beach if you want to. It's only an hour away. You can go to Cape Canaveral and try and see a rocket launch from there, or you can go to Clearwater, which is one of the best beaches in America, and have a good time. So honestly, there's a lot to do out here. It's hard to just name a few, but those are the few I'm going to name.
Definitely. And if you're looking to stay on property, other things you could think of are probably, your water parks. I know, Tyler, you're not a huge fan of the water park experience at Disney.
I think if you're there for an extended time, then spend your time at the water parks. Or if you're just a fan of water parks in general, sure,
Yeah.
But I think if you're there for like 4 or 5 days, then no water parks for me. But
It's a little bit cheaper, a lot of bit cheaper than your typical theme park day price. And on top of that, you do have your Disney mini golf courses.
that was one of
mine.
mine on the list for sure.
Let me steal them. Yeah.
No, yeah, I like it.
I knew
like
it.
that we both think the same. Yeah. I especially like the Fantasia mini golf. That one's good.
We did have a really good one though. You were telling me in the car for Disney World.
What for Disney World?
Yeah.
The dinner.
The boats.
Oh, that's right.
The
I almost
boats.
forgot. I see. I didn't write it down, and I totally forgot. I need to write things down. My favorite thing to do there is to rent the pontoon boats, or not favorite, but I'm embellishing a little. But it's a great thing to do. It's a great thing to do. Rent a pontoon boat over by Grand Floridian or Polynesian or wherever they rent boats. And it's really not that expensive to do it. It's like, if you do it for a couple hours, I think it's like $50 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just really relaxing. You can't, you just want to relax out there. You can't do anything crazy, no drinking or anything, obviously.
And you get to drive it by yourself.
Yeah.
That's even
a lot
cooler.
of liberty.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun.
Super fun. And then you get to see like all these cool scenes that if you take it around Polynesian, you can like cruise it around and go like underneath like the Contemporary, and then you can like kind of like let it sit and you can watch the monorail go by, and then you kind of see it the monorail go inside the Contemporary, which is a really cool shot, and then travel it like before like Magic Kingdom, and then you get to see the boats go by, and it's just really cool. You can take it around by the Grand Floridian, kind of check out that stuff, and then you get to see that really cool tree where the captains throw their shoes or something. What is it?
Yeah,
They throw
there's
their
a shoe
shoes.
tree where all the retired captains end up throwing their shoes on the tree, and they're all stuck up there.
There's a
Last
lot
day.
of shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So that's
you
really
can
neat.
go and see where River Country used to be, and Polynesian used to have a wave pool near it, or not a wave pool, but there actually used to be wave machines in the water near Polynesian.
Wow.
Till they realized it was causing a lot of irreparable damage, erosion. So they stopped using it. So you can see kind of the remnants of that. It's just a lot of interesting things. Anyway,
And how long do you get those pontoon boats for? How
you can
long?
do it for as long as you want, and then they just charge you by the hour.
Oh,
So,
okay.
And there's
yeah.
like a cutoff, I think, around like 6 or something, 6 at
Yeah.
night, because that's when they start charging for like the dinner, like the like the cruises to watch the fireworks and stuff. And
Yeah.
people can pay and like they'll drive you around and there's like drinks and stuff. So I think there's like a cutoff, but you can like go in the morning and like reserve it and then just have it out I think they charge you every half hour
Wow, what a
after the
great
first
idea.
hour or something.
Yeah.
So it was fun for us. It was during Love Bug season, so that was new to us.
Yeah.
And so we just would not stop really because they would just come on us and we're like, keep moving, keep moving.
Love bugs everywhere.
So we just kept like cruising around and just kept going, and it was
was
really
still fun,
fun.
though,
Oh
yeah.
my god, it was the best. Like the whole pontoon boat to ourselves. The thing's massive.
Yeah.
Oh my god, what a memory. It was great.
No kidding. Yeah. What a fun way to spend some time, and
Yeah.
a very unique memory.
To cruise around, like go around like Magic Kingdom and stuff, and see. You don't have to go inside. Just cruise around and see the front. And be like, hey, what's up, Magic Kingdom?
Yeah. Think of those photos. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anything else, Tyler, that you had on your list?
Specifically for Disney World, or should I go back to land? Or
Yeah. Anything you still needed to recount there?
I just think that there's also I know Tiki Andy is watching too, and he's going to agree with this one that Strongwater down in Anaheim, it's a 5-minute walk from the packing district. Strongwater is a new tiki bar that has opened up just at the end of last year, and it's great. I mean, it really is rivals Trader Sam's for sure. Trader Sam's is great and everything, but this one has a little more craft to it, a little more freedom for the bartenders and everything. So it's a great place. Drinks are a little bit cheaper than,
It's under the
than
same
Disney
ownership
as well.
as Blind Rabbit.
Yeah, they're
Or like
exactly.
partnership or something.
Yeah, so look that one up and go and check it out. And then of course there's tons of breweries too. I'm gonna
Childless millennials.
I'm doing all the classy things. Yeah, I'm sorry. These are not kid friendly, and I apologize, but this is what I know in Anaheim. There's like the Karl Strauss Brewery, which is a great place to, if you're staying on property, go to Karl Strauss, get some cheaper beer that way. Then you don't have to pay for the beer at Disney, which is super expensive because like at wow, California Adventure. The Carl Strauss beer is very expensive, but you go to Unsung Brewery or Bottle Logic, Anaheim Brewery. So there's a lot of good breweries out there. There's a lot of fun
terrific
stuff
options.
to do.
Absolutely, yeah. I would jump back out to Walt Disney World and think about some other things that you could probably do on site there because it is such a large property. Don't forget about Disney's Boardwalk. Great place to go spend an evening. Certainly you are going to pay those Disney prices as usual, but there's some great fun that can be had there for an evening. Jelly Rolls, the dueling piano bar that they have, the Atlantic Dance Hall, lots of restaurants, lots of streetmosphere, or should I say boardmosphere?
Yeah.
Boardwalkmosphere.
I don't know if you want to
Yeah, I don't think you want to say boardmosphere. Yeah.
Not going to be bored.
Come on.
But if you're interested in what an evening at the boardwalk is like, our own Garrett Hessel did an entire video on it here a couple weeks ago. You can find that on the YouTube channel at The Kingdom Reports, and you can experience it yourself. Those are just some of the tips that we have for you when it comes to Disney parks outside of the parks, especially with the new ticket price increases. Maybe you don't necessarily want to spend an entire day in a park or buy another day's worth of park tickets, so you're looking to kind of enjoy your vacation outside. Those are some of the tips that we have for you. Hopefully you can plan a little bit better now. Stay where you are.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.